Yesterday I tried out the Bladedancer for the very first time, and I was pretty happy with it at the end of the run. We were using flurry, smoke bombs, we were throwing acid flask whenever we got in and out of combat, things were going in a pretty good direction, and we maximized the potential using the Bladedancer skills. As I was going to bed, I realized one thing. I have no idea what the Bladedancer skills are like. I mean, I have an idea because I've showed it to you, but I haven't really fully committed to it. Somehow that felt wrong to me. So today, we're doing this kind of extra episode for the Bladedancer of yesterday, where I'm going to pretty much respec and despec out of all the skills that we've used yesterday, and we're gonna have a half-hour episode where we're gonna try to create something using these three skills here. Dancing Strikes, Shadow Cascade, and Synchronized Strike. Hope this will be really cool! So let's get started. Our main damage will stay on poison. That is the theme we went for yesterday. This is the same character, so we're gonna stay with that theme. As far as passive points go, I have refunded most of them, just because we're gonna take another look around and see if we want to invest in something else, not only damage over time. For right now, I kept Pursuit for that extra melee damage and increased movement speed. I like the Cloak of Shadows, at least one point in it, providing us with a 2% chance to have Glancing Blow, which would reduce the damage that we receive. And I also invested a point here in Flow, gain a stack of Flow whenever you use a unique skill, and I believe that these are unique skills for, of course, the Bladedancer, so I'm guessing that this is going to work. And using a fourth unique skill consumes all stacks, causing the skill to deal greatly increased damage, and that is 40% extra damage. I like that idea. We're going to stay with this one as well, with a point at least. Then we have ones here where we're gonna get 2 melee physical damage and dodge rating if hit recently 20. I wanted to have at least 1 point into this one because it sounds pretty good to me. We're gonna invest a lot more here in global damage over time and poison chance per equipped dagger. But before we do that, we are going to look at Skia Synthesis. When you create a shadow, you regain health and skills used by shadows deal increased damage. I wanna keep using shadows, so we're gonna invest this, or I don't wanna keep using shadows, I wanna invest more in creating shadows. That's the right way to say it. So we're gonna invest in this at least 1 point so we can get some health and some increased shadow damage. I like that idea. Then we're going to invest a point here into Blood Serpent's Blade. Let's see what else we want. You have additional health and you have a chance to gain a stack of Dodge Row when hit. Each stack of Dodge Row adds 50 dodge rating and 5% chance to receive a glancing blow. I want that. Rhythm. Generating a stack of flow increases your melee and throwing attack speed for a short duration. This buff can stack 1 per point, 5% increase attack speed. I like that idea, and since it can continuously stack, why not? Scarlet Stream, this one is with bleeding, so we don't really want to invest in that. We're gonna go with a bit more damage over time here and poison chance. And then we have unlocked the Veil of the Night. You have increased melee attack speed when you use a melee attack and hit at least one enemy, and you have a chance to gain a stack of Dash Shroud. Once again, the Dash Shroud increasing our dodge and providing us with glancing blow chance. Sure, great. Pulse. Flow is consumed when you use a 5th unique skill rather than a 4th, but the skill that consumes flow has a much higher critical strike chance and bleed chance. Since we're not going for bleed, we're not going to do this right now. We're gonna stay with this. And if I throw another point here, does that mean we get 80% increased damage? Yes, that's cool. And we're gonna go with more damage over time. Now, of course, this doesn't work perfectly with this, since we're trying to apply more poison rather than getting this straight up damage. But it's okay. Your dodge chance is added as twice as much chance to receive glancing blow, but you cannot dodge. I do not want that at all. I feel like this works really well with armor, right? If you have armor and dodge, and you've invested a lot in that, you can have armor and glancing blow, and that would work a lot better. So, here's bleed, we don't care. Skills that generate or consume flow deal increased melee damage and have additional melee critical strike chance multiplier. I do like that. We're gonna invest a point there, and that's it. Now we're gonna go into our specialization, right? This will be our movement skills. Let's just see them in action, right? So we have this. Instead of shift, I will throw in synchronized strike, and instead of this acid flask, I believe I'm going to be throwing in this. We have this as the main attack. Then we're moving like this. And you can see we're creating shadows already. Ah, okay. So if I do this, create shadows, can I use also dancing strikes? No, so dancing strikes does not trigger those shadows. However, shadow cascade does. We're also having a bit of problem with the mana, so let's work on that as well. Over here, dancing strikes, now we will level them up a lot. Let's see if we have any kind of poison over here. We do. We get bleeds, but then we get to damage over time. We get a bit more poison, more damage against poisoned enemies. We can change bleed to poison, physical to poison penetration. Poison chance is increased by 100%, but physical damage is reduced by 50%. Okay, and we also want to look at mana. Mana generation. Dancing Strike second attack creates shadow, but Dancing Strike costs more mana. We don't want that necessarily. Each rhythm also grants 5% more global damage, but once again more mana cost. So we don't get any kind of mana regeneration here. We have a chance here to also cast Shadow Cascade when using Dancing Strikes. Dancing Strike grants you additional dodge rating for a short duration on use. Yes, definitely. So we're gonna invest 1 point here. We should, this being our main attack, we should invest 2 points to begin with. Yes. And then we're gonna go in this direction. Dancing Strikes inflicts enemies with Shadow Daggers, and the Shadow Daggers, upon reaching 4 stacks, would do that 1300 damage, and I like that idea. So, but we need to invest 4 points here. And I don't know if I like that idea though. We're gonna head this way. We're gonna get the Shadow Cascade chance. Maybe this will allow us to not have to use this skill, which also costs us a lot of mana. Over on this side, we are going to upgrade Shadow Cascade, because even when we're casting it here, it's going to be improved by what we're investing over here. Once again, we're looking for poison. We have bleed to poison here, and more crit chance versus poisoned enemies. I like that a lot. And mana, there's some mana generation here. Mana refund, mana gain per shadow when we're using Shadow Cascade. Okay, so how do we want to get here to the bleed, to the poison, first of all, and then to this one? We could go with more area of effect or more damage per shadow, which doesn't seem that interesting to me. You have a higher chance to dodge while directly using Shadow Cascade. Directly using, so not on automatic cast. Which means that we can go with this one, with area. Lead to poison chance. Shadow Cascade deals more damage by percentage, sure. And we're gonna go to Blade Rush next. Good. And then we have our Synchronized Strike, where if we look at poison, we have some poison here. Poison chance per dagger, 25%. Good. And mana generation. Synchronized Strike creates 2 additional shadows but costs significantly more mana. No, I don't like that. Shadows jump inward, more mana cost. Synchronized Strike causes existing shadows to use Shadow Cascade on use rather than being consumed immediately. The effect consumes a portion of mana per active shadow. Okay, so we're losing a lot of mana. Distance. Can we get more distance here? Doesn't seem like that is the case. Range? No. Area per shadow, ward per shadow, attack speed. So mana efficiency. How much does this cost us? 40. Okay, well, let's make this a bit more efficient. That's 21 mana. Now we should be better, because 40 would pretty much we would lose half of the mana we have now, and that would be pretty bad. And where else we want to go? Just here with extra... Yeah, I guess with damage per sword and poison chance per dagger. I guess that's the direction which we are taking at the moment. And after that, maybe a bit of haste would not be bad. Some health leech would also be great. Area of effect probably is better. Shadows created within 4 seconds of using synchronized strike deal increased damage 40 per point. That's also good. We also can get a bit of healing per shadow. You now disappear instead of teleporting to the target, and the shadow is created in your place, but synchronized strike has a longer cooldown. Okay, I can see us doing something, and I feel like this is pretty much it for the moment. Now let's see it in action. Let's see how we can deal with damage here. And we're getting a pretty good amount of dodge while moving around, which also makes me think that we might not need the bomb anymore. So we're doing this, we're creating some shadows, and we would have to cast, we would have to cast Shadow Cascade in order for those to trigger. When using Dancing Strikes, it's not really applying. It is a bit weird to use. It feels to me like the Bladedancer's main focus should probably be something like elemental damage or straight up physical damage with penetration and all that. When it comes to bleeds and damage over time, I don't know, somehow it feels not as effective. Although it's not too bad. I mean, if you think about a crowd, if I can apply a bunch of poison stacks to them and just move forward like this, maybe that's the tactic. If I go back and forth, they have to follow me. They will not be able to hit me. As far as mana goes using those dancing strikes, it seems like we're doing well. And every once in a while, I should probably do these just to create a bunch of shadows. And then trigger them. Okay. I kind of like how it's going. His jump around feels very weird to me. I mean, partially it feels like I would get bored of it at some point. I think that's what I'm mostly worried about. There we go. Okay. And everything should be going quite well now on level ups. I mean, we are going to get boosts until level 10. So let's run through these maps, complete a few quests while we're at it. And we're gonna upgrade our skills in such a way that we are going to have multiple shadows. We are going to trigger them very often, and hopefully going to mean that we are going to be better than yesterday. And to be honest, partially, I feel like that is the case. I mean, when I'm using the dancing strikes and I'm getting that extra dodge, like look at that, I'm reaching 39 dodge at this point, so that's 39%. So that's not bad, that's actually really, really good. Maybe this was the way to go. Maybe I shouldn't just stay with the main skills that we have with our rogue. Good. Let's pick Hidden Blade. You have a chance to use Shadow Cascade when using Dancing Strikes, so this is one big bonus there. And maybe we're gonna go with this one, with Shadow Daggers as well, rather than the Bleed and the Poison. I really don't know. There's so many choices, but that makes me so happy. It's so fun to play this game, and always think, I mean, even as I was going to bed, what direction did I want? Do I want more poison chance at this moment? Doesn't. If we're triggering a 25% here, maybe one more point. However, we're not doing constant attacks, it just happens randomly. Let's go in this direction. Let's increase our area of effect. Let's get ourselves foreshadowing. Maybe even synchronized strike creates 2 additional shadow but costs significantly more mana. We have made this a bit more efficient, but maybe we can bring it back up on mana costs. 100% would mean 61 mana. How much is it? 15? No, 62 mana. So we will need to wait for a while to regenerate some mana in order for us to be able to trigger Shadow Cascade as well. I'm not 100% sure what I want to do here, but we will see. For now, what I do know that I want is that I want to gather these crowds together, do something like this, and then activate it like that. Okay, I like it. I like the shadows, I like the cascading strikes. Now we could do it with another one-handed sword, which is unique. Let's throw down one of these. Okay. I have then a problem here with mana. If I lose too much mana, there's not enough to regenerate for our dancing strikes. That can be pretty bad for us. So I have to look and forge something which will provide us with a bit more mana. Let's see. We have a blade here, which increases dodge rating by 20%, applies frailty on melee hit, which makes the enemy take more physical damage. Okay. Let's see. Gladiator's Oath, one-handed sword, 13% increased melee attack speed, 11% critical strike multiplier while dual wielding, 21% increased area of effect with Dancing Strikes. Dancing Strikes' third strike creates a fighting arena. 100% melee critical strike chance while in Dancing Strikes fighting arena. Okay. Well, and what is this? Carpenter's Adorn must just an idol of the catapult. +7 bow physical damage for ballista and 31% increased throwing damage. That's actually cool. So instead of this dagger, now I'm going to throw in this. Because I would like to keep this warding on. At least for now. Yeah, I think we're creating ourselves something good. We got really lucky here to get something which is of our class. What does this arena do? Does the sword tell us? No, it doesn't. I have to figure out what that arena is. We're going to invest another point in probably flow. Maybe extra damage from flow. Maybe shadows, increase shadow damage. We are doing a lot with those shadows, aren't we? So it wouldn't be bad necessarily to invest in that as well. You know what? Let's do it. Let's increase the shadow damage and the health gain from shadows. It's going to heal us, it's going to keep us alive. That increased area of effect, super cool, super effective here. And we're not stunning the enemies anymore, and that is a bit unfortunate. We're gonna take some extra damage from that. We have a 28% chance to stun, and no, we actually have 267% stun chance. And I think we have it because of the gloves that we're running with. Those giant's gloves, which gives us a lot of health too. Yeah, I don't know what's happening with this arena, but I love it. I am curious to see how far we can push this. And I'm really sad I haven't tried it yesterday, but I'm really happy that I thought about seeds as I was going to bed today, or last night, or today. But to be honest, I was super excited to wake up and give this a go. We need a bit more mana here. Now these shadows expire if I don't use them, and that is a bit unfortunate. If I'm using normal damage, we're fine even fighting this spider, this scorpion, because we're not sitting still, and we can actually do very well against bosses. Because on boss mechanics, you don't need to move around a whole lot. You just need to move around, at least for these early bosses. So this works really well, and we're doing those huge critical strikes. Increase area of mirage attack with little mirage. What is mirage? Little mirage is here. Okay, we're not getting to it. Requires 30 points of investment, and we are at 22. Unfortunately, we're not gonna see it, but you're gonna try it out yourself, I'm sure of it. And overall, I'm really happy with this choice. I think I've done the right thing by getting back into it. And I hope you're enjoying it. Now let's see if we can find ourselves, let's find ourselves some mana, right? We have some increased mana here, which we can upgrade, right? I mean, I can keep pushing this further and further. We have a lot of unique rings, so let's see over here. If I was to choose maybe, what would we get? We could get mana regeneration instead of mana as a prefix. So let's do that. Now we're getting 33% more mana regeneration. Now let's see, with what we've done there, is this enough to help us? A bigger mana pool, we're up to 85. That wasn't a huge increase. We don't have a huge flat amount there to do this. However, the mana regeneration does feel slightly better. As far as skills go, I should head towards poison, but I also want to get these shadow daggers. But no, let's go this direction. We said that we're committed to going here, so let's do it instead of anything else. Bleed chance to poison chance. I feel like at this point it's pretty high. Let's go with this. The more melee critical chance versus poisoned bleedings. And then we're gonna go with foreshadowing, right? Increased damage there. Let's do 2 of these, and then let's trigger them. That almost killed them. Yeah, I like seeing those crits. Now that I see those big numbers, I am okay with the dancing. Even if it's weird to control, I am happy with dancing strikes here. It's okay. It does good damage. We don't care. I guess the big thing is this arena. I'm wondering if it's sort of like sacred ground or something like that, just increasing the amount of damage you're doing or something like that, maybe getting some regeneration. But it's an arena. Getting regeneration doesn't sound like a thing. I haven't used smoke bombs. I don't feel like I need smoke bombs anymore. Let's try to get the acid flask. One of the things which we can do is create those shadows and then throw one of these acid flasks. I think that is something which can happen, right? So if I do this and I throw a flask, oh, I've done shadow cascade. We'll try the flask next. Just because I'm really curious how Ooh, that was really bad there, that necrotic damage. So we're gonna try to create shadows, we're gonna try to throw acid flash. Because we've gone for poison damage, and I want to keep that theme at least in mind, at least as a trial. Okay, it seems like we're throwing flash wherever I am targeting, right? Oh, okay, so the shadows are throwing where I have my mouse. Something to keep in mind, definitely. But that is pretty cool. I mean, if we think about specializing, and that's what happened yesterday as well, I was thinking that my next specialization might be in Acid Flask, just because I want to increase this power. If we're increasing the Acid Flask power, then we can do the Synchronized Strike, right? Just creating the shadows, and then we can throw the flask, especially at the boss, I'm thinking. You don't want to do this all the time with the shadows and the acid flasks, but on the odd occasion, right, when you're fighting one single boss, throwing acid flasks seems very valuable to me, because the acid flasks, even on without being upgraded, applies poison, and it also applies that armor reduction, right? With bright poison and bleed, apparently. Maybe it's because of whatever else we have stacked in it. But I know the armor shred and the poison is being applied by the acid flask. And so, specializing in it is not a bad idea. Thought I could have him, but apparently that's not the case. There's still a bit more for me to learn here in these movements. I'm thinking that the main play style here would be to move around a lot, which, of course, makes sense. It seems that when I'm moving around, when I'm surrounded by mobs and I keep moving around back and forward, I am surviving, but it almost feels like I should think like Path of Exile, right? Path of Exile, you don't really want to return to the same place. The downside is that this boss uses these mines, and I think that's why I didn't want to move around a whole lot. It's like I felt reticent to do so.
That's buried in the slums.
Okay, and we have one more boss over here. Let's go check that out. Let's see if we can get a few more levels as we're heading in that direction. Okay, the shadows trigger by themselves also with dancing strikes when we are doing this now, right? Yes. Okay, we don't need to trigger them anymore because we will trigger them using dance. Nice. Okay, well, let's keep going here. We need 2 points in bleed to go there. Then over on this side, do I want even more critical? That could be a plan. We could go with a bit more dodge rating, but it's only when using Cascade intentionally. Damage per dagger, damage per sword, armor shred. Let's get some armor shred as well. Just because we're creating multiple shadows and they trigger, so we get at least 2, or we have 40% chance to create 2 free armor shred, and that could be very useful. And after that, shadows, higher damage on shadows, health gain when shadows are created. You know what? Yes. We're still struggling on surviving. Okay, they don't always trigger, and we have to be careful with that. Cool, another passive. And he's definitely feeling better today than yesterday, right? I mean, I'm not saying those skills were bad, but they definitely felt underwhelming. This is something I will note it down and maybe we'll try in the future. Maybe you are made to pick and choose from the rogue skills. Like they are useful, you can try them out, but maybe the true power stands in going in this direction of your mastery. And not only through passive skill points, but also through the active skills. And maybe that might not be true. Maybe there is one unique thing over here. Like we didn't have many opportunities to create shadows unless we invested in acid class. Maybe that is the downside, right? One big thing that this class has is the shadows, which do a lot of extra damage, and that adds up to a lot, making you like this really powerful DPS. So I am getting, I would say that that is probably the idea behind it. Maybe that's why I'm feeling so good with it. Because if I was to say, what class would I be? I was trying to think whether specializing in any other class so far, only for passive but not going for the active, would change my opinion. But if I think about it, all of the classes which I've played had like these powerful, really powerful skills which they have unlocked through the mastery, right? So maybe, just maybe, you have to pick a mastery and you should invest a bit in it. At least one of the skills you should be using. Something to try out for the future. I'll write it down. We'll try to make a class in the future, or at least pick a class and figure out whether we could just go with the base class. And invest every point we have into Sentinel, for example. Invest passive skill points into the mastery, because I do feel it's important. There's plenty of skills there which add value. And it's not that really limiting. There's not a limiting factor like we have here. Because we can only equip 5 skills, that is the limiting factor. And thus, we're gonna spend passive skill points, but we're gonna stay and use the base class skills, active skills. And we shall see if that works as an idea for the future. But this is all the time that we have for today. Hope you have enjoyed it. I wanted to do this extra episode because I felt it was important to try out the skills, and it felt like yesterday I haven't explored it enough. With this in mind, see you in the next one. Until then, I wish you all to have a wonderful day.